Girls, how's it going? I think we need to spice it up a little bit, na?
Yeah, girls.
You just said no, girl. Come
Yeah.
on, yeah, poker face, chalo.
Babes.
घर जाना है, खाना खाना है. Sorry, sorry. Okay, okay.
She become pink,
Yeah.
laughing.
Rishi, I see you when the inner glow comes.
Keep
Cameraman record karo isko.
We're besties, guys.
I think every generation inherits something. Some inherit businesses, some inherit money, and some inherit expectations. But very few talk about the responsibilities that come along with building a legacy and carrying forward that legacy. We are going to be talking about businesses, legacies, pressures, women in business. Today's guests are two people coming from two different worlds, but having one similarity. Let's start with the obvious question. Did the family business choose you, or did you choose the family business?
I think I definitely chose the family business. My father had always been of the opinion that the younger generation should build for the next 50 years versus just continue what's already built over time because, of the fast changing environments, fast changing economy characteristics. So he always had the vision. So there was never any pressure to come back and, sort of continue what he was doing. However, that was a space that I was truly interested in. And real estate is, not just one thing. Like he was doing investments within real estate. And I wanted to get into the same space, but also do something which was, forward looking. So that's when I kind of started with co-working within that space and, took it forward from there. So I definitely had the choice and I made a active choice to get into the business.
Radhika, what about the brand of Binu Sehgal?
So I think I definitely chose to get into it as my base because it kind of taught me work ethic, morals, etc., etc. And after that, after understanding the core of it, I've actually maneuvered, and taken a few more responsibilities in different industries, But however, yeah, it was definitely a personal choice to get into the business.
I love the fact that both of y'all chose the responsibilities, chose what came with the responsibilities and building that legacy. Both of y'all come in from two very diverse backgrounds. Radhika, you've got into shipping, real estate, and fashion. Princey, you've built in your own empire in the real estate tech field, right? You're competing with some of the big brands of co-working spaces here in India. What were the dinner conversations that you guys had? Probably that you can remember a few of them.
Though I think fashion and real estate do go hand in hand, if you've seen all the Netflix shows. A little bit of glamour, but no, to answer your question, dinner conversations have always been very diverse. Actually, for me, my father was sort of an entrepreneur himself. He also didn't just continue what my grandfather built. He took it to the next level. He, kind of diversified in many different ways. Would love to also have guests on the table. We were always made to sit. It was never like, the kids are away, the fathers are talking. It was always all together. So very, very, like I can speak about topics that I have absolutely no interest in because of those dinner conversations.
I think very similar to what Princey said. We used to sit, we used to talk about politics, we used to talk about tech. One thing that, was a daily conversation is that how to get better in anything and everything that you do. Like she said, she can talk about things that might not be of her interest, but because she's had such a varied conversation on the dinner table, she's interacted with so many people. Likewise, even at home, we always would talk about so many diverse things and what we took back from everyday learnings. It didn't have to be like a big learning, it could just be a small learning, like, maybe how to be kinder to your vendor. So, yeah.
Today's podcast is very well a diverse podcast, right? We are not only about the fields that we come in, but the experiences that we're talking about.
Yeah.
When we talk about these experiences, right, there would be some experience wherein you would have entered a boardroom. People had already known that you come in from a legacy background. They know
Hmm.
your father, they know your grandfathers. They would expect something out of you, right?
Hmm.
Or in certain situations, they would already make up their own mind, stating that this is how the conversation will go through. Has any of this thing happened with either of y'all, and how do you all face it?
So, funnily, because my grandfather has been a profound singer, for me, inherently, it's like, oh, you must be knowing how to sing and all, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that happens very often. But I think it does open doors when you come from a background that is known, that has a legacy. But I think there is a certain expectation in the sense that I think a lot of people, because they know your family or, they know your grandparents or your parents, I think what they expect from you is that you will always bring something valuable to the
Hmm.
table.
As we spoke about the board meetings,
Yeah.
right? Has it ever happened that your father, you, or your brother have
Hmm.
gone in the board meeting together
Yeah.
and the boardroom was filled with expectations that your father will be the decision maker and not you?
Yes, I think when it's all together, they would expect the senior most person to be the ultimate decision maker. However, at this maybe early on,
Hmm.
even more so. But at this point, after a couple of years, they understand that there is a clear split in responsibility in who would take decisions basis what. And I think what also helps is being in sync with my father and brother. So there are no different opinions going out. So whenever they're presenting, they know that it's going to be discussed, it's going to be aligned, and then it's going to come. So it
Legacies do
doesn't,
need unity,
yeah,
otherwise, it's
Yeah,
never been built.
yeah.
yeah.
Because
Mm.
if the next generation had 1 crore in their hand, where would you think would be the ideal investment? How much of it would go into equity? How much into fixed assets?
If anybody had a crore, they should, diversity is key. You don't want all your eggs in one basket. And like you said, I think there's a strategy that at least I've always been taught of 40, 20, 20, 20. 40 is generally in your long-term real estate sort of yields. 20% can be your insurance FTs, 20% precious metals, SIPs, and then 20% high yield. And that 20% can be your place to play. It could be something like a Bitcoin, which is happening now, anything that can give you like a high yield, or NFTs. And it doesn't matter if you have a crore or 100 rupees. There are multiple instruments you can buy in SME REIT. You don't have to go ahead and buy a large asset in real estate. You can invest in uh, ETFs. Like there's multiple instruments now available which you can use. But the ultimate point is to have diversity.
But do you still feel FDs or real estate,
Hmm.
which are considered as the OGs or the age-old investment criteria, which are giving lesser yields as compared to the equity markets or the global markets, right?
Yeah.
That still stand a chance in terms of the 40-20-20.
I do believe yes. I feel it maybe the yield is not as high as it was at one point or where that particular industry was booming, but however, it still gives you consistent yields. And eventually, wealth creation is how you leverage each of these portfolios, right? It's not just the investment and also how you're leveraging it. There can be times where, the percentages can go up and down.
So rightly that
Definitely
she
need to
said
see.
that if you've got a 1 crore corpus, it does not mean that you buy and hold. You have to keep shifting the investments. You have to keep changing the proportionates so that you keep making the yields because the market is changing very diverse, right?
Correct.
I agree. However, if you know, coming from a real estate background, if I had to, recommend something, I would 100% tell them to go and invest in real estate. If that, not everyone knows the markets, right?
Hmm.
Not everyone knows what shares to put in where, right? But not necessarily residential. There are a lot of commercial options. There are plots, there are mixed use facilities that are coming in.
There's
Because
also stuff like fractional ownership, etc. So
Correct.
it doesn't matter
Correct.
how much, 1 crore or lesser. There are multiple instruments through which you
Correct.
can invest in the same space.
Because in the market
True.
right now, if you see in the real estate market, a residential property might give you a rental yield of 6%, but a commercial, on the contrary, can go up to 12 as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
So that is something that most developers are giving you, right? About 10 to 12%, which is a promise also for the first 2, 3 years.
Wouldn't you all also believe that in today's world, it's not investment just happening into a fixed asset, it's also into these ETFs, REITs that have come
Yeah.
out. I
Hmm.
think so many multiple opportunities how you can hold in investments.
Yeah.
As you
Yeah,
were saying, right? You can have multiple ownerships
Correct.
for a
correct.
single property,
Yeah.
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
Couponization is something that is very viral all over the world, and I
Yeah.
believe it will happen in India for every single asset class. But for real estate, it's
Yeah.
been happening for a very long time with the help of REITs.
Correct. Correct. Now there are SM REITs.
Yes,
Hmm.
yes. Coming up to a very interesting question.
Yeah.
Both of y'all, you built your own brand.
Yeah.
You are building somebody else's brand and your own mother's brand as well,
Yes.
right? In today's world, where the Gen Zs believe in switching reels in every second,
Yeah.
do you believe building a brand is more important or to go with the flow with what's there in the market?
Definitely building a brand is important. I think it's still the way you market and build the brand has changed, but the fundamental that you need to have something which has a recall value continues to stay, right? So maybe over time, what worked in the past in the advertisement and brand building is different than what's today.
And you should be sticking to a particular product or services, even though it's not branded properly, but you
Hmm.
have your conviction on it.
Again, I think it depends on the product. Say, if I'm doing co-working and real estate, this market is, extremely competitive. It's not a consumer market. So the kind of branding and, the building that I need to do is very different than, or the decision making of my customers is more price sensitive versus, how good your ad was. Specifically speaking about commercial and co-working, residential marketing is still very different. They would still have your, fancy rooms, audio videos, and everything for your clients to come in. But for commercial and corporates, they're more focused on simpler things.
So I do believe that, branding is constantly changing because what was working earlier might not work right now. But
Yeah.
you have to understand that if your company is a well-known company and, that's the legacy that you build, if that is not done well, then none of it helps. I'll give you a very simple example. There are a lot of celebrity-led brands, correct? Just for the audience also to resonate a little bit. Deepika Padukone owns a skincare brand, right? She's one of the most profound actresses. But eventually, her brand did not do well because her product was not good, right? She could not create that legacy for herself, though she has a legacy as an actress. So, like your question, whether it's important to focus on marketing, branding, etc., or your brand as a whole, your product, I would always say that focus on your product, focus on your service, focus on your ethos, what you stand for, because eventually if the customer, the client doesn't resonate with that, nothing's going to help you.
Because
So
if you
yeah.
keep changing as
Hmm.
per the market demand, you will not have a USP. You will not create something which is long lasting. True.
No, it's very
Yeah.
essential to communicate with the audiences as per change because, come on, we do live in a very fast moving
Moving, yeah.
world, right? Like you said, everyone has a memory span of just 7 seconds and then you're on to the next reel. But if I'm watching a reel and I see a reel of, say, Tata, or a Reliance or a Tira or a
Hmm.
Nika, I will look at it because I know that that brand has catered to what I need, right?
You
Yeah.
wanted to add something?
No, I wanted to just say that you have to continue being relatable to the audience, right?
Yeah.
Like we were saying, what worked in the past, even a Rolex needs to do an ad now, right? Because before they would have, again, they were building a legacy, but now they need to appeal to the younger audience. Or what AP did with Swatch. right? For what I mean is that the audience is younger, and every legacy brand also needs to kind of to continue being in existence. You
So it's
have to
not
be
like
relatable.
nowadays what's happening is the next generation
Hmm.
is coming up with startup ideas, thinking that let's build this, let's sell it off, let's build something new, right? Wherein our forefathers have always believed in the ideology of building something,
Yeah,
sustaining to it, holding it and growing it, passing it on to the next generation, just like a tree.
yeah. I think the saying boring businesses make money is still true.
Yes.
With startups, there was a phase, there was a pump and dump of sort, but all of those came and went in waves. Maybe
Hmm.
out of 21 was successful, which eventually ended up making that money, that unicorn. But as of today, that's not true anymore,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Even investors are much more cautious. They are eventually looking at your bottom line. They're just not buying the marketing or just the faff of what you've built anymore. So, and of course, on the flip side, AI has made it much more simpler to launch companies and products at a faster pace. However, until you have a strong model, something that people can keep buying, a recurring sustainable model.
I'm completely for the legacy and,
She like, listen,
all of that. But I
shut
think,
down these new brands.
no. I think the more competition, the better,
Hmm.
because when there's more competition, I'm not saying it in a narcissistic way, guys, please, but I think when there's more competition, then I think the customer also understands that, okay, fine, this is right, this is wrong, this is right, this is wrong,
True.
right? So I'm not against startups. I love startups. I think what's happening right now with our younger generation is, I think it's a more risk-taking, generation. They don't want to be in that box,
Hmm.
right? Me too, right? With my mother in fashion, while I do help her with the business side of it, I don't come from a designing background, right? So I also kind of maneuvered, and, I did real estate, and I'm doing shipping now, dealing with other kind of brands. So 100% please take risks.
Yeah, though the
Yeah.
only thing like entrepreneurship is romanticized a little
A
bit.
little bit. Like it's
It's a thin line. It's a thin line. It
yeah.
just, yeah, you have to have something to
But
hold on to.
I'll
It
tell you
can't just be,
something
yeah,
in I mean, not just like we're millennials, right?
I'm not.
Okay, fine. Gen Z. Yeah, she's a
God,
Gen Z.
she's a Gen Z by a year. Come
Yeah,
on.
Yeah,
okay.
She's
I'm a
Actually,
a
this
millennial.
entire timeline has to change, because
yeah.
I also in my head am a Gen Z.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, so what I was trying to tell you is that I think our age and I mean our category, age
She's
bracket,
looking at you in a way that, listen, don't touch.
we're all entrepreneurs in some way, right? We're not just doing one thing, right? We're also doing like marketing. We're also doing like content creation right now, what you're doing. You're also doing your fitness, right? In my case as well, I'm also taking care of the business part of it, but I'm also, helping somebody else, find their way. I'm also doing content creation.
Hmm.
So there are a lot of hats that we all wear. So I think this generation, I think, is an entrepreneur in themselves. They grow themselves, and whatever they get in their hands, they grow. They fall,
Yeah, we're
they
cockroaches
get
now,
up.
we have to grow. For matter of fact.
Multiply.
Yeah, but it's a win. Cockroaches are the only insects that survive nuclear wars.
You
Yeah.
spoke about how entrepreneurship has been romanticized.
It is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's talk about a little bit about relationships here to understand
Hmm.
how has being a successful businesswoman changed your way you've looked at a relationship.
Yeah, I think what changes is maybe the expectation of a relationship, and especially the women, because now when you're looking at a relationship, it's more about the companionship. You're not, because you are independent, you have everything of your own.
Day-to-day life changes you so much that you just need someone to be very content with themselves and add to your life, not necessarily, be one unit
Yeah.
in the sense, of course, one unit, as one couple. Guys, I do believe in loyalty and stuff. But what I'm saying is that
Should we talk about loyalty of the other party now?
no,
Because we're
but
talking about our loyalty, not about the other person.
no, but like what I mean to say is that earlier, when I was younger and not working as heavily, I used to think that, if I'm lagging somewhere, my partner should be taking care of that aspect, or if he is lacking somewhere, I should be taking care of that aspect. But I think that right now, I feel all of us are lacking in some sphere. But we have to uplift each other ourselves
Yes.
so that we don't put our kind of pressure on the other person because they're anyway dealing with so much, and likewise we are also dealing with so much.
As we have seen in any of these series, like just pick up Game of Thrones. If you confine a dragon inside a cage, he does not grow. Whereas Drogon,
Sure.
who is flying over as free,
House of the Dragon actually has this one dragon called Cannibal. Okay, so he is out in the open, not confined, etc., etc., and crazy.
yeah.
Crazy, like wants to create menace everywhere because he's not in the box.
But coming from legacy background, would
Yeah.
you see settling with somebody who comes from a non-legacy background? Why?
I would be open to the idea. It's not about what particular financial background they come from. It's more about the companionship and compatibility. So if I feel like that person is a person that, I can spend my life with, I would be okay with it.
Would your parents be okay with it? You coming in from a quintessential Marwari family, a legacy background in the Marwari, because I'm
You hit
aware
a
of it.
nerve.
I'm with the nerve with
I
the
wouldn't understand that.
I'll come to you.
I think definitely maybe not the grandparents, but parents, they have sort of come into sort of also understanding the changing environments. They've understood how fickle-minded people are, and they don't want to put kids in pressure situations anymore. I think that they also sort of, when they think about the other person's legacy, they're also looking at it slightly more logically, that they do foresee that sometimes there are cultural differences when people are coming from different backgrounds. Still, those things are not there. It should be okay.
When you come from a legacy, you know the kind of pressure that is there, you know the kind of working hours that is there, you know the kind of moments you need in the family, right? You understand that because you've had that since you have an understanding of yourself, you know that. So that is, I think, the main advantage, that you know that, okay, fine, this person will also understand that if I'm working not 8 hours, I'm working 12 hours, it's okay. It's not a problem. Whereas someone who doesn't come from that might not understand. They'll be like, oh, like, why don't you give me time? That kind of friction might happen. This is just one example. Disadvantage, I think, of marrying in the legacy would be that if the two people aren't understanding, there can be a lot of clashes, right? Because your legacy, your functioning, your ethos, your overall, it could be very different from what I come from, right? Though we both come from legacies, our legacies are also very different. So if we're not understanding and we don't find a middle ground, there can be a lot of friction there, because I do think people who come from legacy are also very headstrong. I mean, talking about my contemporaries, you, Princey, we are all very headstrong. And by headstrong, I don't mean it in the negative way. We have our own values, we have our own ideas, we have our own functioning.
Bending the knee is what is not happening
I
in
love
legacy.
Game of Thrones, and I love it. I love how you're bringing it. But I would like to add something, that she said that would parents be okay with, not marrying
Yeah.
into. I think, and that I also, would want is to be with a partner who has the same vision.
Yeah.
He might not come from a legacy, or he might not come from a lot of wealth,
Yeah.
right? Because we all know this, that even in legacies, money
Money is just a very fraction of a legacy.
money and success and everything is it fluctuates, right? There are good days, there are bad days, right?
I believe people misunderstand legacy. whenever we talk about legacies, they feel people coming from a well-off, a
Yeah,
healthy, money-loaded family.
Hmm.
Legacies are not just that.
correct.
There are legacies built in Rajasthan by musicians
Yes.
being carried on by 6, 7 generations,
Yeah,
right?
correct.
That I mean,
Mame Khan,
legacy.
Chaudhary,
He's
right?
Mami Khan.
Mame Khan, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for telling me his name. And there's so many other examples in legacy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just about businesses building it. It's something which you inherited from your
Hmm.
grandfathers or your forefathers,
Yeah.
Hmm.
right? But there are certain things that we all as next generations feel that our older generation should change now at this point of time, right?
Hmm.
When we get into the legacy businesses, there are always conflicts that keep happening at home in the business because instead of one decision maker, now there are more than one decision makers coming in.
Yeah.
Whenever that happens, there are certain changes that have to happen with the passage of time.
Hmm.
According to both of y'all, what is that one thing that you would want individually from your older generations to change, and one thing that you or your younger generation should understand?
And
Right.
maybe it's not just one thing.
Hmm.
See, each generation comes with their own characteristics. Like we just discussed, Gen Zs are different than millennials than baby boomers, right? So that slight conflict of style of working remains. Maybe the end goal is the same, and both are right in their own ways. They just reach there differently. So I think you
Hmm.
just need to find that middle ground and that understanding. I still argue with my father every day at work, right? About simple things. He would want my entire team to be in office all the time. I don't care if they remote work till the work is getting done,
Hmm.
right? So I wouldn't say there's just one thing that, I need to change. I just need to find my maybe space. You need to find your own.
You need to find your own space. The next generation
To
always.
Yes.
find the balance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one thing that you would want your father to understand about you.
I think the same thing that, that it's not just his way is correct or mine. Both are doing things differently, but ultimately getting there. So just that kind of trust that, okay,
Hmm.
if I have given this to you, you can do it your way, and I know that you'll get there. Versus so just having a thing that space is enough.
Radhika.
Yeah, she said very beautifully, but to pinpoint
Hmm.
that I don't particularly am a fan of in the previous generations. Like, even if you have like 104 fever, you have to go to work, right? But at those times are very different, right? The quality of air was better, the food was better, everything was better. So they could
Yeah.
manage it, and they have that expectation from us as well that thake haare kaise bhi jao kaam pe. So I think that should not be there because I
Yeah.
think health is most important, because if you're not healthy,
Hmm.
then work is secondary, right?
Got it.
The previous generation, work was worship. I do agree that work should be worship, but not at the cost of your health. Just
But
like
wouldn't you? So this particular topic has come in my family a lot of times, wherein
Yeah.
it has been argued with one notion stating that because we had to sacrifice so much, we did not care about our health. We
Yeah.
had to build something. You guys don't believe
Yeah.
in building things.
Yeah.
You guys
Yeah.
just want to keep following. So you'll have the time span to give to your health. You have the time span to give to your friends, right? Whereas they felt that their entire life is built upon work, providing for the family,
Mm,
right?
hmm,
mm,
And creating something that they did not inherit.
mm.
yeah. We can't obviously kind of look down upon what they've created, because the effort, of course, has gotten us where we are. We're sitting in this room discussing all of this. It's because of their
Hmm.
hard work.
Sure.
And what is it that you or your next generation should understand about them?
From my forefathers.
Yes, it can be a learning too.
Yeah, I think one thing, that I feel and I see a lot of younger people do is they believe in fast, fast everything, right? Fast money, fast growth, fast returns,
Fast relationship.
yeah, okay, fast switching of reels. I think that they should understand that everything requires time. So they should really like invest their time really, really well the way our forefathers did. And how did they invest that time? Is because they were good people. Eventually, goodness is what multiplies. If you want to get things fast, you might have to take some routes that are not the best routes.
Radhika, your work spans through shipping, real estate, fashion. I don't know what more, right?
A lot more.
Apart from
Correct.
fashion, real
Yeah.
estate and shipping are something that people don't resonate a lot of branding with.
Yeah.
How would you say the creativity, the branding, the strategy side is changing in the next generation for these not so quintessential branding sectors?
So I'll tell you what, fashion, of course, involves all spheres, right? It's got omni channels. You can do everything, anything and everything with fashion. However, since the ticket sizes of shipping and real estate are much larger, your branding is also, I would say, your branding, marketing, communication, everything. It has to be creative, but it has to be, I wouldn't say orthodox, it still has to be in that box. For shipping and real estate, you have to be a little more particular because the people who invest are slightly more orthodox. Is it changing? I wouldn't say as fast paced.
If I give both of y'all two brands, one with an amazing product but does not invest heavily into advertisement, and the other one which has a not so good product and invests heavily into advertisement for getting its clients, which of these would you advocate for and why?
So, whether it was in the yesteryears, whether it's today, or whether it's in the coming years, I do believe that the product and service is king, right? If you have a good product, even if you invest very little, negligible in advertising, you'll always do well because customers always remember your product, right?
So marketing is key, but it gets you the customer in the door. Then you need to have the product do the talking for them to be a repeat customer.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And that storytelling is extremely important for their recall value. So
Yeah.
I would say an average product with good marketing, if I was just an investor, I would choose that because an excellent product with minimal marketing does me no good, or a bad product with excellent marketing.
Yeah.
If you see, Princey always thinks as an investor, right? Because she comes in from a
Yes.
lineage of investment background. Father being an ace investor. Radhika, your mother, your grandfather, you come in from the entertainment industry. You've been there. They've been there for more than 4 decades now, right? What is that one stereotypical thing that you feel should change now for the women coming in the next generation?
See, I think it's two layered, like you said. One is when you're coming from a certain legacy or a privileged background that makes people have certain notions, pre-notions about you. And second is being a woman in business
Yeah.
has another layer of notion attached to it. So tackling the women in business part, I think either you come from a legacy or not, that continues to be an issue. It's become much, much better because now there are, the quantum of women in business is increasing by the day, which is a great thing. But still, a lot of your decision makers and a lot of your big industries continue to have a stereotypical mindset. I'll tell you a personal experience. When I was, starting my tech company, I wanted to explore the value of the company that I'm building. I wanted to speak to a few investors, understand how they would look at my company. And the questions that they asked me, I was really shook. They really wanted to focus on things like what would happen to the business if I got married,
Yeah.
and things like that, which I just never thought somebody would ask me that because, but when I went out there and when I spoke to my friends who work full time in investing,
Yeah.
they told me those are the kind of questions we've been taught to ask. And if it's a women founder, and especially a solo women founder, they always look at it as a high risk investment and it
True.
goes to the bottom of the pile. It is changing slowly, but we're taking really baby steps. We need
Yeah, I
to
believe the
accelerate.
ideologies,
Yeah.
if they have to be changed, they have to be changed at the root level,
Yeah.
right? Otherwise, that would not make a difference.
Correct.
Radhika?
Yeah. So I do agree to what Princey said that there is a lot of backlog, of course, ideologies will take time to change. I think if I had to pinpoint one thing, I think a lot of people believe that women, because again, we're slightly more emotional and empaths, we can't take the hard decisions,
Hmm.
Yeah.
to continue what she said that, okay, fine, if she gets married, she'll want to like be with the family and focus on her, growing the family, etc., etc. But that's not the case right now. Before marriage, also, we have very tight schedules, right?
See, having empathy should
Empathy,
never go away, in
Yeah.
my say,
never.
right?
Kindness is
Be any
very
gender,
important.
empathy
Yeah,
is something that is needed to build any
Yeah.
legacy or to build any business at
correct.
this point of time. Just adding up to your point that you're saying that people do believe that women can't make uh, harder decisions in the day-to-day business
The
life
crude
is what,
decisions. Yeah,
yes, is what the notion is, which is
hmm.
not very true.
Yeah.
We should not forget empathy as the core for any legacy or business to be created. Rightly that you said. If your family business disappears tomorrow,
Mhm.
who would Princey Goyal, who would Radhika Tandon still be tomorrow?
I think, at this point, since we spoke about our dinner conversations, the way we grew up, I think I would still be an entrepreneur. Maybe I would be doing something different in a different field, but I think I'm still, that at heart. So, legacy business or not, I would continue doing something of my own and build. Like, I enjoy building things.
I would just say that like she likes building, I like adding value and sustaining. So I think, I would be doing consulting only.
Yeah, and at this stage, now that we've already been in business for a while, I think we all understand what it takes to build something and we
Yeah,
could start from
Yeah.
scratch. But if you asked me this when I was just starting out, like I said, I would still have some sort of entrepreneurship, but maybe in a different field. At
yeah.
one point, I wanted to get into, you know, like be an economist. Then I wanted to be a city planner. So I have had very
The sky
varied
is the limit.
interests in what
She's
I'm
seen a lot
doing
of Bob of the Builder,
now.
that
Yeah.
show if we have. But then I do get that your ideologies do change as you progress in business, as you take over more responsibilities in your
Yeah,
family, be it personal, be it professional, right?
yeah,
That's what maturing is known as.
Yeah.
That's what building your own legacy is known
yeah,
as.
true.
Correct.
We spoke about Binu Sehgal as a brand. I want to put some light on Wide, your brand, which is the co-working space,
Yeah.
right? The responsibilities that you would want your next generation to build in that legacy.
See, I think, like I said, the space of real estate is also while like it's constantly changing. What co-working was when I started and what it is today is also different.
Hmm.
And ultimately, it's a legacy of real estate and not of co-working as a segment, right?
True.
So what we started with and the way the industry has moved, the kind of verticals that have been added are very different. So if somebody is to take in and take over, I would want them to continue with the real estate, but also continue adding things which are relatable for that time being.
In our audience, we've
Yeah.
got a 25-year-old kid listening to us at this point of time, and he's having second thoughts of joining the family business or not.
Hmm.
What would be that one advice that you
Hmm.
would want to give that person
Hmm.
that would help them make that decision?
I think earlier in this podcast, I spoke about having the space to grow. So, if you are somebody who is of that entrepreneur spirit, and if you're thinking that I want to join a family business or not, of course, there are multiple benefits to the legacy. For real estate, it would be relationships that, because the entire industry works, and in any fraternity, actually. The
Relationships are needed for every sector that
Correct, right. So that is one of the key things that you inherit with legacy, but also identifying that the industry that you're in and the way your individual family business setup is, that would you have that space to continue growing it? right? And would you be able to carve out your own niche?
Yeah.
If that is a possibility, I think you should definitely get into it. However, if you feel like you'll be constrained, you will not be able to, you know, take things forward unless you're somebody who are okay with things being slightly stagnant. So then that's your personal choice.
Yeah.
So you identify your personality, identify the space that you have in the business, and accordingly take a decision.
Lovely. The scope of your growth is very important. Radhika?
I think if I had to give a piece of advice to the next generation who is in a dilemma whether they should join the family business or not, I think what they should do is like how I got into the business because I liked it and I wanted to understand the foundation of any working space. I believe you should get into it for a while. But if you don't have an interest in that, I think it's better to opt out when you understand that you don't have that interest. Because with legacies, what happens is that your entire family has built it with so much love and dedication and constant hard work. If you don't have the same, even say half of it,
Hmm.
you shouldn't get into something half heartedly. Definitely give it a try, learn from it, see what you can put in. But if it's not for you, I think you should know where to draw the line.
If both of y'all have to differentiate between expectations and responsibilities in a legacy business, what would both of them be?
I think expectations are like again, like we spoke, to probably fill in the shoes of, the people who have been running it so far.
Yeah.
However, the responsibility would not be focusing on, just kind of filling in the shoes. It's doing what's actually right for the company, what is right in that current time, and truly taking things forward.
Coming up, that we were talking about the next generations, how would they take over legacies? We can't not speak about technology, artificial intelligence, that has been a key factor for any new age generation business
Correct.
coming in. Real estate as a field, where do you see technology taking it?
I think in real estate, since I'm doing prop tech, let me tell you, it's a very difficult space to be in because I think the decision makers still don't see the value in technology.
Yeah.
There's multiple kinds of real estate technology, right? From identifying or mapping the land to contract to construction to operations. Some of it is being adapted for the better. There's still a lot of friction for AI or any sort of technology to get into the industry. One thing which is booming and which I would love for it to go away is AI telecalling. I'm sick
Oh,
of
yeah.
getting calls from all your residential properties.
Yeah.
One thing that we are working towards is building digital twins of your assets, which have, end-to-end mapping, and then using that data to improve efficiencies, improve the experience, so on and so forth. But that is still a work in progress. At least in the Indian market, we're not there yet.
Just to give you an aspect of what's happening with AI in the finance field, to understand any company,
Yeah.
the investor looks at the con calls, how the key managerial person is speaking in any conference,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
At this point of time, AI is very much capable of understanding the tone of the MD, the CEO, on what way is he trying or she is trying to portray the company, and gives a similar kind of output that a human would. When we hear a lot of experts talking about one thing that AI will never be able to replicate, that's human
Humans.
emotions.
Yeah.
We're going to be starting off with a very fun rapid fire round. Princey, let's start with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Legacy is,
Inherited.
success is,
Personal.
failure is,
Temporary.
luxury or simplicity,
Luxury can also be simplicity.
money or time,
Time.
wealth is,
Wealth is a medium.
Building something or inheriting it.
Building something.
One word your parents would use to describe you.
A rebel.
Lastly, I'll consider my legacy successful
If I'm able to continue bringing the same value that it has been so far and taking it to the next chapter.
lovely. Radhika, are you ready for it?
Always.
Wealth is,
Buildable.
legacy is,
A family.
success means what?
Very fickle.
Failure is,
Key to success.
money or time,
Time.
luxury or simplicity,
Luxury.
building something or inheriting it.
Building it.
One word your parents would use to describe you.
I think everyone can describe me. Dynamic.
Lastly, I'll consider my legacy as successful
I'll consider my legacy successful if in another 30 years, my daughter or my son is sitting in a similar podcast with you,
with
your
our next
kids.
generation.
Yes.
Talking
So,
about the
yeah,
same thing.
Talking about
talking
this.
about the same thing, how we built a legacy. So I feel I'm
Yeah,
successful then.
So
So people
nice.
have to wait.
People will have to wait,
yeah,
It'll be
right?
worthwhile.
It's rightfully said that some people inherit money, some people
mm,
inherit wealth, some people inherit responsibilities.
yeah.
What Radhika is trying to pass on to the next generation are certain responsibilities, certain very hard shoes that they have to fill. Thank you, Princey and Radhika, for coming in today, sharing your insights over the legacy building and
Yeah,
what you see as your next gen legacy to be built.
Thank you
yeah,
for having
Today,
us.
we spoke about wealth, pressure, women in business,
yeah.
and moreover, legacy businesses. So that was an edited chair. Thank you
Thank
for
you
coming in.
Thank
for
you.
having us.